All right, everyone, we're back here for another episode of Fresh Coffee. I'm Chris from MediaFreshPress.com. This is Nathaniel from OneMoreCupOfCoffee.com. And this week we're here to talk about podcasting. This is something we've never talked about before. I know Nathaniel's played around with it a little bit. I'm just now really getting into it, so it should be an interesting topic. I forgot to paste the link in the event page, so I'm going to do that real quick.
I've been there. Yeah, I redesigned my lower third.
Oh, yeah?
But then I can't remember where I put it.
I've done that a couple times, too. Oh, this is different now with the new URLs, so I guess I'll just grab the YouTube link like usual, huh? Didn't you do the new one last time?
Yep.
Let's see if that works. So we took a week off. That was interesting, huh? When I was getting ready for tonight's show, I was like, wow, it feels like it's been forever since we've done a show. It's only been a week.
Yeah. Yeah, lots happened in a week. I've been busy with house projects.
Like
Rebuilt
what?
a fence.
What kind of fence?
Wood fence.
Privacy fence, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty rotten. That was pretty interesting. I've never done that. I didn't actually build it, I guess. I put some posts in the ground and put some boards up. Did that. Painted the guest room. I've been getting a lot done since I got this new app on my phone I told you about. What's it called?
Yeah, you told me I couldn't find it for Android.
Clear,
yeah.
So it's got there we go. It's got a heat map of what's most important, and then you can you can see this is today's list. I haven't done anything today. Today was an exception because I was painting last night until like 4 o'clock in the morning. But normally I get a lot of stuff done because you do it and you check it off and it makes a little sound there. Anyway,
that's cool.
That's been my week.
I used to do a lot of painting, man. I used to really enjoy it too for a while. Then I got tired of it.
I hate it. I'll never paint anything ever again. So miserable. I painted the whole inside of my house, and that took forever. And just opening that paint can and smelling that paint brought back horrible memories of like wrists cramping up and closets. I think I mentioned this before. You don't realize how many corners are in a closet until you try to paint one, and then it's like.
Yeah. Did you do all the cut-in and everything?
I don't know what's a cut-in.
Up against like where your trim is different colors, you gotta cut right up, make a perfect little line there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you did it all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's a saying, like I said, I grew up building houses and stuff like that, so I grew up in that industry. But the saying is that, all painters are big time drinkers, and once you paint a house, you start to realize why.
I believe it. But like internet related stuff, new milestone for One More Cup of Coffee. I finally hit 2,000 visits a day, so things are creeping up.
Sweet.
And then I've been talking with this other affiliate program that I've been doing for a while, and we kind of negotiated a higher pay, so they should be able to get the same amount of traffic with more money in the next couple months, so that'll be great.
Wow, that's good news, man. What do you think? Any tips? Anything you think that has helped, or is it just being consistent? Do you tweak any SEO? Did you jump on a new platform, or?
You mean for traffic?
Yeah, your traffic increased there. What do you think was the cause?
I don't know. Just consistency. I think pretty much this whole year I posted 1 review every single day, sometimes 2 reviews. So like I pretty much for the past 2 or 3 weeks, maybe not last week, but before that 2 or 3 weeks, I was posting twice a day. I don't know if that's a direct result of what happened now, or if it's just the time of year. Supposedly August is a slow month for everybody because everyone's on vacation, getting ready to go back to school, whatnot. Um, but yeah, and it wasn't like a jump. It's been creeping.
So yeah, then that's cool, man. Sounds like just consistency won the battle there, which is something I always
Yeah,
say.
like it's, sometimes people look to me for advice on this or that, but a lot of times I don't really know. The only thing I do is I just post every day. Um, and that's Kyle called it a brute force method, where it's just like, and it sucks sometimes, and it's not always the best way to do it, but it works. Just post and post and post, and eventually you get to know your niche, and you can just write stuff off the cuff. And it's what's I can't remember what there's probably I think there's a name for this statistic thing, but basically it's like most of what you do is going to be crap, or it's not going to not be crap. Most of it's not going to work, but every once in a while you kind of hit the jackpot. You get a good post that really gets picked up, or you rank for something that you weren't planning on ranking for.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you post, the more those random events happen, and then you collect enough of them, and then instead of having one sort of golden goose post, you've got 10 of them, and then yeah.
Yeah, and I know this is kind of off topic for anyone watching, but you kind of called it a brute force attack, which I can understand the terminology, I really do. But in a way, I look at it differently because it really is about consistency. And I mean, you could say that about anything really in life. Anything you want to be good at is about consistency. But the one thing you do is, like you said, because I pay attention to your blog, obviously. You said that you post sometimes twice a day, but every day. But it's not really about that, because I know that you don't just write crap. You just don't put filler content in there. You put something on there that you think is going to be worthwhile, and you do it consistently. So I think there's something to be said for that.
And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes I see a product I want to review, and I mean, this is specific to my niche and the products that I review. But I look it up in Jaxi, and there's no searches, and I look at Google results, and it's like all these crap websites like extremeprofitmultiplier.com, extremeprofitmultiplier.net, extremeprofitmultiplier.org, and I'm like, there's no way I'm going to beat these. But the reviews on my list to do, I know it's a crap product, and I know that people are going to be searching for, someone is going to search for this review. So, once I kind of get in there, I'm like, all right, I'll just do it. And I do, even though I don't expect any traffic from it,
Mm-hmm.
I do it as if I would get ranked #1 for it.
So you're saying you put the same amount of effort into it no matter what?
Right.
Yeah, that's good news. Because, yeah, you never know. Like, maybe later on, the search volume may go up,
Yeah, well, I mean, again, related to this stuff, I've seen this happen where the product owner does a reboot, and then I get ranked for the original, even though they're launching the reboot. So, yeah, it might not be the best use of time, but that's kind of been my strategy, and then so far, yeah, it's been working some of the time.
All right. Well, we could talk about this forever. Maybe I'd like to maybe do a whole show on this, because your site seems to be doing really well. But we should talk about podcasting a little bit. I know you used to. How long did you do it? You did podcasting for a little while. I know you spent some time on it, because I remember you talking about some of the tools and stuff like that. So you want to tell us?
Yeah,
about...
I did it for about 6 to 8 months, I guess. And I did a podcast a week. Sometimes I skipped weeks, but I think in total I had like 20 episodes. Is that it? No, I had to have more than that. Let's say 6 months, once a week, whatever that equals out to. And then I skipped some, so.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So, and this was, what, a couple years ago? Maybe a little more?
Now I don't remember. Okay, not the beginning of this year. This is 2014 to the beginning of 2013. Pretty much since almost the beginning of One More Cup of Coffee.
Mm.
So I must have started around May 2013. And then I think it ran until about uh, maybe not even 6 months. Let's say, I don't know why I'm obsessing over this. Let's say May to October.
So,
May, June, July, August,
wait,
September, October. Yeah, 6 months.
what gets me about this is that, I'm just now kind of looking into this. I've heard about it a lot, and I never really paid much attention to it. I always thought it was cool, but I just never really got into it. But what gets me is what I'm reading about is I guess in 2004, 2005, like podcasting, I guess exploded. That's when the dudes from Twitter bought that company. I can't remember what it was, Odeo or something like that. Anyway, podcasting was getting really popular, and then it kind of died off. So now everybody's looking at it and they're saying like it's making a comeback. There's more uploads to iTunes and stuff like that. So, and I can just look around the net at blogs that I've followed and people that I've followed for a while and see that a lot of them are adding podcasting. So I don't know why, other than maybe people are getting busier and audio is easier to consume.
Yeah, like audiobooks have been coming up as well.
Yeah.
So I think people are making use of their commuting time. Everyone has an iPhone or a phone that plays music, and um, podcasts are free, and music a lot of times isn't.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about podcasting. I think if you're a podcast enthusiast, people tend to look at data that they want to look at. So that they say podcasting is coming back. But in reality, most of my friends that I know don't listen to podcasts at all. But you can't dispute numbers. If there's more uploads to iTunes, then there's more uploads to iTunes.
Mhm.
I think part of it is that technology is making it easier, and there are people who have been there before. They're creating guides. When it first comes out, everyone has to kind of figure it out for themselves. I think people figure it out, and then they sell that information, and then enough people sell that information that it becomes common knowledge, and then now you can pretty much. I learned how to set up my podcast for free from Podcast Answer Man, and his whole guide was free, and he was just selling stuff within the guide, like podcasting tools like microphones and whatnot.
Yeah, you're talking about it being free and everything. That's one thing that surprised me because you got a podcasting story here, and I want to hear about it. But here's kind of my story, and I'll just tell mine first because it's really short. I'm looking around, like I just said, I'm seeing people adding podcasts. I've always known, heard about iTunes and all that, but I never did it because I use a PC and all that. So I continually hear about Stitcher. So I go to Stitcher. I'm checking it out. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of cool stuff here. Like, I never realized it was like all this content. And I find Content Marketing World has got a podcast, which is cool. But then I find Jay and Silent Bob. And for anyone who doesn't know, Jay and Silent Bob is Kevin Smith plays Silent Bob, and Jason Mewes plays Jay from Clerks and Mallrats and all that. If you guys were into movies in the 90s, they were pretty popular. So they have their own podcast, and I was hooked. I listened to it for hours and hours. Then I started looking at how to do it, and I realized I was like, wow, like I already have pretty much everything to do it. So it's really cheap to get started. And there's a lot of stuff out there. Now, doing it right, that's a whole different story, but, kind of bootstrapping, most people have what you need already.
Does Silent Bob talk on the podcast?
Yeah, yeah. Have you heard of Jay and Silent Bob before?
Yeah, but I thought Silent Bob didn't talk.
No, Silent Bob's a character, man. Like, Kevin Smith is a crazy man. He wrote a bunch of movies, man. He's the one that made Ben Affleck and Matt Damon and all them popular. He wrote Mallrats, Clerks, Clerks 2, Jersey Girl, uh, a ton of other movies, man. Chasing Amy. I can't even think. Just a ton of other movies, but Red State. But yeah, Silent Bob is just a character that he plays. And he
That's right.
never.
Red State was the new one he did. That was a crazy movie. True story, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if I
Kind of
understand
true.
it right, it's like based off of those. I can't remember their name, but yeah, the crazy church people. I can't remember their name now. But anyway, yeah, it's a crazy movie.
Um, yeah. So when I got started, um, and it's been a while now, so I'm kind of having to think back. The only thing that I had to pay for was the hosting. And I think they do have free hosting for podcasts, but you're limited in how much you can put out. Like, I think you can only put out one podcast a month up to a certain length. And then if you pay for hosting, the hosting is tiered as well. So how much data you put on the server. So if you come out with a podcast every week and it's an hour long, which is what I did, you need a certain amount of data versus you come out with podcasts every 2 weeks and it's 30 minutes long. But iTunes was free. Any sort of app, like the app that I used to play on WordPress, that was free. Not the app, the plugin. Um, I know they have free audio editing software. Yeah. So you can get by pretty cheap.
Hmm. Yeah, it's amazing actually. I didn't realize. But yeah, I think the hosting is what kind of throws people off because it's different. I looked for a while like to how to add it to iTunes, and I didn't realize there's like a. I guess that hosting that you get provides you with the feed, or maybe that plugin you're talking about gives you a
This
feed.
was super confusing to figure out. So, and now I'm going to get confused trying to explain it. iTunes is basically just delivering it to people's things. They don't, as far as I know, they don't keep anything or host anything.
Hmm.
Hold on, the UPS guy is here. I don't know if
Okay.
he's going to make me sign or not.
UPS guy.
I bought a coffee table. My counter space is so small, I can't fit all my coffee equipment. Because surprisingly, there's a lot of different ways to make coffee. Okay, he's not asking me to sign anything.
Yeah, I believe it.
I can't fit it all on my counter. I've got like a Keurig coffee machine, and I've got an espresso maker. There's instant coffee, and then I got coffee cups. If you get a French press, and there's all kinds of like different units. There's a thing called a Chemex, which is like a drain thing, and I don't know, it's all kinds of stuff. So I
Jeez,
gotta,
man, you're super into coffee.
yeah. So yeah, I can't fit all that stuff, and then on my counter space is already so small, and I got beer bottles and all over the place. So, yeah. All right. So the podcasting thing. What it is you have there's three parts. There is your host, and technically you can go from your host to iTunes like that. But if you end up changing hosts down the road, there's some sort of complication or issue that can arise that can make things troublesome for you. So what Podcast Answer Man suggests is that you get a middleman, and then that one I think is Google's FeedBurner. I think Google owns FeedBurner. So you go hosting to FeedBurner, and then FeedBurner to iTunes, or whatever your podcast delivery system is. That way, down the road, iTunes is always taking from the same FeedBurner URL. That doesn't change. All you do is you change the hosting part of stuff, and then you tell FeedBurner where to grab that from.
Okay, yeah, that makes that makes sense. And yeah, I mean,
Don't
there's.
quote me on that. The thing that's definitely true is the three-part system,
Mhm.
where you have your host, a middleman, and then your podcast delivery thing. The details of it, I'm a bit fuzzy on, but
Yeah, and like I said, when you go to iTunes, I just assumed there would be a upload your podcast here type of thing, but it does work off its like a RSS type of deal or whatever. It does take a
right.
feed, so um, like you
Which is one
said.
of the reasons why you need hosting,
Mhm.
because this was a surprise to me. Um, so when your feed goes out, if you have, let's say you have 1,000 subscribers, every one of those iPhones is going to download that feed at the same time if they have their data on or if they set it to download like that. So that's going to put a huge load on wherever your stuff is hosted. And if it's not optimized for that type of activity, you're going to crash the server and I don't know, bad stuff is going to happen.
Yeah, I can imagine because I don't know how much what it would take to run the same amount of audio as it does video, but when you upload, I mean, most of anybody watching this is probably using WordPress, so when you go there to upload an image or something, it tells you unless you've got special hosting, and even then, even if you do have special hosting, sometimes it'll still won't tell you right there in the upload screen, but you only get so much, and that's to keep it. You only get so many megabytes or whatever, and that's to keep the servers from crashing. So, a lot of people playing that audio file, not to mention all the rest of your traffic on the bug, could really cause some problems. Um, and I don't know, like, what else did you use for the
For
to host it? Was it just
for hosting, I used a company called Libsyn. I think it's
Libsyn?
Libsyn.
Hmm.
So Libsyn to FeedBurner, and then iTunes, and there's a few different smaller podcast delivery systems. One of them is Miro, Miro, and I don't know if Stitcher is one of them. I'm not sure what Stitcher does. There's about, let's say, max 5. So there's iTunes is the main one, and then there's a couple other ones that are really small.
Yeah. So Stitcher is like iTunes, I guess. I don't think they do video and all that crap, but I think
Okay.
iTunes does video, right? Anyway, yeah, Stitcher is just another podcast place.
Because I might have
Yeah.
submitted to Stitcher as well. The name sounds familiar. And then to actually get the podcast on my blog, um, I used a plugin called Blueberry. And then I would just take so for an individual podcast, they wouldn't post automatically. I'd have to create a blog post and put that, um, create a post, write something, and then add my Libsyn URL into the Blueberry plugin for that post. And then it would display a little player.
Cool. I'm gonna see if I can put this Libsyn link in the showcase here. Hopefully,
And
we'll
then
be
all
able.
that stuff was kind of the reason I quit. Like, I did it for a couple months. I would say for each episode, I got maybe like somewhere between, in the later stages, between 5 and 20 downloads. So it wasn't that much, and I knew it was going to be one of those things where you really had to go for it. Really, like the blog posting thing.
Hmm.
Success is exponential. You start off slow, and you grow, 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 and then it snowballs and whatnot. But it was like every single time you had to go through this rigmarole of I'd have to, if there's just so many things to do, you'd record it and then you'd edit it and then you'd have to upload it and then so I'd upload it to Libsyn and then Libsyn has their own uh, like website they give you where your thing is posted automatically. So I was like, okay, I want to do that right because it shows up in search engines. So then I'd have to upload an
Hmm.
image that would fit that website, and then I'd have to go. Um, I'd go to YouTube and I would record the video, and then I'd upload the video recording to YouTube, and then in YouTube I'd have to add a title and a description and meta tags and do all that. And then I'd have to go to my blog, and I'd have to title, blog post, upload or paste the URL in there, featured image, all the metadata, all that stuff, and post that. And then I'd have to go into social media, and then I'd have to like tweet and Google Plus and Facebook, all of this stuff. And it was just way too much for me to handle. And by the end of it, I was tired of podcasting.
I can imagine. God, that sounds horrible, man. I didn't realize.
I mean, sorry, what?
I didn't realize.
Like, I could have just said, okay, all I want to do is create the audio file. Oh, I forgot, I uploaded it to SoundCloud too.
Mm.
If all I wanted to do was podcast and just create the audio file and put it up there and say, like, okay, take it or leave it, this is what it is, I could have cut down my workload a lot. But I wanted to get some traction to it. I wanted to get some exposure to it. So I was doing all this activity, and it was too much. I think I took on too much. I should have just picked like one platform and gone with it.
Yeah, and I don't know if I mentioned this at the beginning. I think I might have. But for, if anybody's out there that, you don't want to do the, like everything he's talking about, you don't want to worry about iTunes and all that, you can upload an audio file to WordPress, and WordPress comes up with the default player. And, like I said, depending on your hosting, it may or may not work. But for most hosting, I'd imagine that you can upload a few audio files without a big problem, unless you're using like really cheap hosting or something like that. But the only way I would really recommend that would even be worth your time is if you already have an audience. Now, if you're trying to build an audience with podcasting, then you're probably going to need all that stuff that Nathaniel was just talking about. You're going to need to tap into the audience at iTunes and Stitcher and SoundCloud and all these places. So it's I guess it's a lot of work. And that the Lisbon hosting that Nathaniel was talking about should be visible right now to you guys. It's the first time I used the Showcase app, so hopefully you guys can see it. But
oh yeah, I see it. That's cool.
Is it? Okay, cool, man. I'm glad that works. This is the first time we've ever been able to use that. So, so I'm using Rainmaker right now, which I don't have to worry about none of that crap.
How does Rainmaker do it?
You just put your file in, and it does everything else, man. Yeah.
A lot easier. And it submits it to iTunes and everything?
Yeah. I mean, I have to set up my account and all that first, but I mean, yeah, it does all that. Like I said, I haven't dug in too hard with it, but to iTunes and Stitcher and one other one, I think. I can't remember. But it wasn't SoundCloud and it wasn't Miro, so I don't know. But that's what got me looking at all this, and that's how I figured out that I could put, just by adding, going to my regular blog post and, click Add Media and then grab that audio file. That's how I realized I could do it that way. But like I said, that's only going to work if you already have an audience that's there. If you've got 100 people coming to your blog every day, it's probably not going to do much for them. At least not in the way of helping to build it anyway.
Yeah, I think if I started now, I might get a little bit more traction. Because when I was doing the podcasting before, I had like less than 10 visits a day to my site. So I was getting no organic traffic from Google. So I think most of the people that were listening, I think I got a couple people from YouTube and then a couple of people from WA. I know Craig used to listen.
So what was it? Did you put it on YouTube? What was it? Like you recorded it? And this might bring us into the software part of this, which is really what I want to get into. But would you just record yourself as you were doing your podcast and put that on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I did, this was kind of a dumb way. I don't know if it was dumb. This is how I did it. Is I recorded an audio video, 3 Sorry, I said that wrong. I recorded like on my webcam. The webcam I'm using now, C920, recorded using that, using Camtasia. And then so I had the audio and the video. So I'd go in and I'd edit the audio and the video together, and I'd produce that as a video, and then I would just export. I would like strip the video from it and export the audio file. So the video and the audio were the same, and then I would just upload the video to YouTube and then upload the audio to Libsyn.
Huh. So when I was looking around, it seemed like, I was reading all this stuff about Camtasia because I was thinking about trying that for my audio too. I want to get Camtasia anyway. But there was all these big, long tutorials about how to use Camtasia for podcasting. I was like, why is it such a big deal? Why can't I just separate them like you just said? So, I mean, is it difficult to separate the audio file from that or what?
No, you click Tools, Export as Audio File, and that's it. I don't know if that affects the audio file. Like, I know there's different qualities. So I don't know if you're recording the video and the audio together, if it messes stuff up. But there's an option on there within Camtasia where you just record audio. So.
Oh, there is.
Yeah.
So can you edit the audio too within Camtasia?
Yeah.
I don't get it then. There's all these big, long things about all this crap you had to have. Maybe it was for an older version or something.
I don't know. I don't know how. Maybe I didn't dig into like all the details of the audio editing, but there's quite a few options. You can like speed stuff up, slow it down, cutting it out is super easy. There's like filters where you can filter out background noise or change the amount of bass and treble and stuff. Yeah. It's all pretty easy as far as the stuff that I used.
Well, the only good thing that came out of that, because like I said, I was figuring I could use Camtasia for both. And then when I ran into all that crap, I started looking elsewhere, and I'd been hearing about Audacity. I'm sure you've probably heard of it too.
Yeah.
Have you ever used it?
I did for a bit, because that was what Podcast Answerman suggested, because it was free, but by that time I had already bought Camtasia, and I didn't feel like learning Audacity, so I didn't really dig into it too much.
Yeah, so I after looking through all those Camtasia tutorials, I didn't, I just kind of skimmed them. I was like, well, I'll go check out Audacity, so I went ahead and downloaded it. It's totally free, and man, what an amazing piece of software it is. This thing is freaking crazy, man. I had recorded, just from playing with it earlier today, you could record multiple tracks right on top. I wish I'd have found this piece of software back when I was playing music and stuff, man, because this would have been great. It's crazy, though. And it's free.
Yeah, I've always heard good stuff about Audacity from people. It's free.
Yeah, it's totally free. The one problem I had with it was that I guess Windows, the Windows recorder here, Windows sound recorder that comes default on your Windows machine, it makes a file that's called WMA or WAM or something like that. So, like, there was a couple, I can't remember if it's iTunes or what, but it's got to be an MP3 format. So Audacity also, I couldn't upload it because there's a licensing issue between them and Microsoft. So you have to go get a plug-in for Audacity to upload the thing, and then another plug-in. But it's super simple. It took me less than 5 minutes to get all the plugins and everything. But now I can upload the audio file, the WMA audio file, edit it, trim it, whatever I want to do, and then export it out of Audacity as an MP3, and it's totally ready to go. So Audacity is pretty amazing.
Got it. That reminds me, one of the other things I hated about podcasting was that within the MP3 file, there's actual information about your podcast, and so each episode, you have to have a title. You have to do like an album thing where it's like author, date it was made, description of the episode, what are the keywords, all this stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
I seen that. I didn't know what it was. I just clicked skip or something like that. Like I said, I haven't published anything. But I've just been playing around with all the tools. I haven't published anything yet, but I was looking at that. It was like yeah, you're right. That was a lot of information. But so you have to have that all filled out to submit to
No, but
iTunes?
when people listen to your podcast, that information pops up. So.
I see. Huh. Keywords and all that, huh? So we're right back to keyword research again. Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's pretty cool. What is this? Yeah, you had a really cool intro done, if I remember right, on yours.
Yeah, I got it done on Fiverr. Had
Really?
the real like DJ sound, and he's like, "Welcome to One More Cup of Coffee," and whole like had like scratching and stuff, and I got this cool dubstep track. It was pretty like the only thing I really liked about listening to my own podcast was the intro.
It was a pretty good intro. Now, how do you add that? Do you just like splice it together right there in the software, or?
Yeah, I had the audio file, and so in Camtasia, I would just I had it on my like quick find section, so I just dragged it in there, and then they have different splicing tools where you can fade stuff like that.
So after you recorded the episode, you'd add it, or?
Right.
Oh, okay, that's pretty easy.
So I record it and then chop it all up how I wanted it, and then put my outro and my intro and outro, and render it.
Huh. Cool. Just looking at some of these other notes we got here. You've got some interesting numbers down here. Looks like money numbers, so I'm sure everybody's ready to hear about that. So, I don't know if you've seen my note below your stuff here, but I was like, where did you get these numbers from? So
that's not even related to podcasting. Those are my numbers, actually.
Okay.
Sorry. We can talk about that in a second.
Yeah, my bad. I thought it was like.
Sorry, what?
I thought it was something to do with iTunes traffic and stuff. I didn't realize.
No. That was just, I was reading the suggestions for topics for our webinars, and that was something that was listed in there.
Gotcha.
So I thought if we ran out of stuff to talk about for podcasting, that we could talk about that for a bit.
Gotcha. Okay.
What I was going to ask you is what are you using, what hardware are you using to record?
As far as the mic and stuff?
Yeah.
This one right here.
What is it?
Oh yeah, that's right. It's that Pile little headset. I don't know if you've ever heard of Pile. They do a lot of car audio stuff. But it's got this little thing. It's a USB mic. It's noise canceling. It's a pretty decent little mic. It was like $30, or actually I think it was a little less than that, honestly. But it's got, it can do mic off right here, my volume up and down, and then I can mute it right there. So it's pretty cool. That's really it. It sounds really good. Like on me, the sound is really great. It's just a pretty decent little set, and it wasn't that much either. That's it, really.
One thing I learned that I was surprised is that there's a lot of background noise or noises happening that you don't normally hear. Like you asked me before the show, can I hear the fan? Now I can't hear the fan, but I'm using like this big speaker set. I've got stuff going on in the background. Oh. Chances are, if you were to record a podcast in a quiet room with just the fan and then upload it, someone with like high quality audio headphones or the ones that plug right into your ears, the earbuds, that they're going to be able to hear that. Mm-hmm. Like even, I'm using this one. This is a Snowball, mm-hmm. And is pretty popular among like podcasting and audio recording people. But I could hear things when I would turn up the volume. I could hear things in the background that I couldn't hear with a lower volume. So it's not 100% necessary, but if you want a higher quality podcast, then you got to be aware of that type of stuff. There's different kinds of mics. This one, what are they called? There's basically two kinds of mics. One is going to grab all audio sounds from the room, and then one is going to grab sounds only that you put directly into the mic. And that's the kind that you want for podcasting. You have to get, those are the kind you have to get really, really close, and you have to get one of those screens. I actually have, you have to get one of these for it. Because your face is so close to it that when you do P's and T's and stuff, it pops.
Yeah, it's called a pop screen.
Oh yeah, you're a musician.
Yeah, and that's why I know what you're talking about, because before I even really dug into all this other stuff here, I started looking at how to edit out background noise, because you're right. And unfortunately, with the better mics, because they're better mics, so they pick up more of the background noise. So when you get a good mic like that, you have to be extra careful. Now, when we were playing music and stuff, we could get stuff to deaden the sound. Like you can hang carpet on your walls, you could put eggshell things on your walls and all that. But that's still not going to kill the TV that your son is blaring at the other end of the house. Even if he's not blaring it, that mic, like Nathaniel's showing you, will still pick it up. And even this one here, even though it's a cheap mic, will probably still pick up some of that stuff. So it's you either got to get really good with your editing software, which it's possible, like I think you said, you could remove background noise with Camtasia, right? Some of it.
Yeah, it never really worked very well for me. It just kind of changed the tone. It would make it really, really high treble or really tinny sounding. So it would kind of remove the stuff, but it would also make it sound funny.
Yeah, that's what worries me too, because I think when you remove that background noise, you're removing a part of the audio, so it's I don't know, I always think it does stuff to the quality too. That's why when I see all those file converters to convert files to MP3s, if I was going to take a podcast seriously, I probably wouldn't use those, especially the free ones, because you don't really know what you're doing to that file and what it's going to come out like on the end. So
yeah.
But what else was I gonna say about your mic there? What that mic run? They're about $60 or something like that.
Something like that, $60-$70.
Yeah, yours always sounded really good too, man.
Yeah, it sounds. I think it sounds good for Hangouts, for doing screencasting, stuff like that. I wasn't really happy with the podcasting quality. It got a lot of background noise, and I didn't really figure out how to use it properly. One thing I got really self-conscious about is lip smacking and popping noises. It would, I don't know, because you can see them when you're editing the file, and every single time you do this, you think or something, it comes out. Every time you do an or every time you do an and it drove me nuts because I would try to edit all of that out, and so I'd take a 60-minute podcast and it would take me 2 hours just to edit because there were so many mouth noises coming out that I didn't want people to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of the reason, one, was I was just not used to seeing that. I'd never noticed it before. Now I notice it in other people's podcasts as well. But I think there was something fundamental wrong with the way my podcast was planned. I didn't plan it out enough. And I think that affected how much I was going through and thinking. And I think because the quality of content wasn't there, that I felt like people would focus on the negative stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
If you
um,
have a really good podcast, they're not gonna pay attention to that stuff. You can have bad audio, you can have background noises, you can have whatever, but if they have the content there that you want to listen to, because I've done it before, I've listened to crappy podcasts because I thought it was interesting. The whole time I was thinking, God, get a better mic, but I listened to the whole thing.
yeah, I agree with that, man. I don't ever remember hearing too much. I just actually that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this show with you because I was like, man, his when I was listening to your podcast and stuff before, of course I watched it on YouTube and stuff, while I was doing other stuff. So, but yeah, I just always remember thinking, man, like his voice sounds great. That mic sounds good. I always thought it sounded great. I never really heard too much background noise, but I mean, you know what they say, you're your own worst critic. So,
That's exactly it. Another thing I became super self-conscious about is that uh, after talking for 45 minutes, like my voice would get tired. And, I'm working from home, so sometimes it's like I don't talk to anybody all day long, and suddenly I have 60 minutes of straight audio. By the end of it, like my voice was cracking. I was like, ooh. And so I'd have to record and re-record and edit stuff out, and my voice would get super raspy, and I'd get tired by the end of it. I don't know.
yeah.
It would stress me out.
Yeah, my voice does that sometimes here at the end of sometimes way before the end of the shows. I go through the same thing because, like you said, you don't talk sometimes all day long. So
It's weird. Sometimes it'll be like mid-afternoon, and I'll go shopping or something, and I don't realize it. I'll say something, and then I'll say something to the cashier, and as I'm walking away, I'll think, was that the first sentence I said today? Like, because I'm so used to typing everything, I forget if I've talked to anyone during the day or not.
yep, yep. I do that same thing, man. Luckily, I have a son, so around 3:30, 4 o'clock, I have to talk to somebody. But I think we've pretty much hit everything on the list here as far as podcasting goes. You had something here about a logo. Any tips on that, like sizes or?
That was another pain in the ass. Was like, so you had to upload a specific logo for iTunes, so you had to chop that. Then I had a logo for the, I had one logo done, but it was like something for iTunes, a size for iTunes, a size for your featured image on your blog, a size for the Libsyn thing,
Yeah.
all this different stuff. But yeah, you can get a logo done at Fiverr or whatever.
Just all of them are different sizes, all the platforms.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I quit podcasting, I was pretty much fed up with it. Uh, but I think I went about it the wrong way. I had this idea in my mind that it had to be a 60-minute episode, um, and that I had to do it every week, and that I had to. I think I took myself too seriously as a podcaster. Like I wanted to be like an official podcast. Um, Podcasting, it just sounds professional to me even now, like you have a podcast.
Yeah, it does.
But from listening to what other people are doing, I think they're more casual about it. Like they just strap on a mic, upload the file, whatever. They have something to say. I felt like sometimes I didn't really have anything to say, and I was just producing stuff just to fill in the content. So I was hoping that inspiration would come, but I don't know. Like our fresh coffee has lasted. We're going almost 2 years now.
I know.
Um,
It's crazy.
and I think part of it is that there's someone to talk to. There's someone to bounce ideas off with. There's someone when you're not feeling motivated. There's someone to motivate you. And all of the podcasts that I listen to now, there's at least two guys talking. And for me, it was just by myself. So I was just like speaking into a mic, preaching for 60 minutes. So I think if I had gone about it a different way, either had someone to talk to, shortened the podcast, um, pre-plan ideas further ahead, and if I was more passionate about what I was talking about, then I think it would have been a better success. I was also trying to, that was back in the day when I was trying to do stuff about stocks and real estate investing and internet marketing, and it was in that phase of One More Cup of Coffee where I eventually pivoted away from that.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's something we didn't really talk about. Is that's pretty serious, man. An hour-long podcast alone every week. Yeah, I could see where I'd get burnt out pretty quickly too, because it's like you said, there's nobody else there. Uh, yeah, I can definitely see that how it could have got kind of, I don't know, tiresome after a while. Because it's definitely a lot better having somebody to talk to. And I don't like doing the interview thing over and over and over again. I think that gets old. And I mean, it's interesting, especially when you've got good people to interview, but it's been done so many times, man. So
Yeah.
this is kind of cool because we just kind of bounce stuff off each other. You tell us about what's going on with your site. I tell y'all about my clients. We're kind of just basically giving each other advice and recording it. So
Yeah, that's it's funny to think that that's basically how we started. It was just talking to each other and recording it.
yeah, yeah. I think over the time we've passed along some pretty good little nuggets of information. We should have been recording an audio file of it the whole time.
I don't even want to go down that path. We gotta record the audio, and then we gotta submit it, and then we gotta edit it, and we gotta.
Yeah, no, I couldn't. I couldn't do that. But the good thing is that we have all this. Or at least I was reading something. If we ever wanted to, we can go back and get them all. I think you can get the file. Can't you download the files from YouTube?
Yeah, they limit you to how many you can download per day, but you can download them.
Yeah, that's cool. That's one thing I never thought about when we do these, because I always like to keep all my content, everything. I keep it somewhere, and this is one of the only things that I've never kept. Because we never really touch it. If you think about it, you know what I mean. It never touches my hard drive. It never touches yours. It goes straight from here to YouTube.
Yeah.
So.
I think if we had put more effort into like monetizing it or making it something official, that I might be more inclined to want to keep it.
Yeah.
But since it's kind of casual, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, I like it that way too, casual.
Yeah, I know sometimes we get off track, but I think if someone were to go back and force themselves to listen to all of the episodes, like there's good information in there. It's some of it's kind of like we're talking about painting rooms and building fences or whatever, and so I can imagine some people are like, these guys don't know what the hell they're talking about. But I mean, it's two people that run their own businesses and basically telling the story of the ups and downs and the trials and errors and what's worked. I found that, when sorry to go off on a monologue here, but sometimes every once in a while there'll be like a WA member that contacts me and they're like, I've kind of hit a level where I don't really get a lot of use from the membership anymore. And I went through a phase like that as well, but you kind of have to dig into the bargain bin and find the stuff because there's good stuff in there. It's same thing as our podcast. I mean our hangout stuff. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that maybe you don't need, but there's good stuff in there. Like when I started my email course, I learned it in WA. I had gone through all the training. I had done a bunch of videos. I had done all kinds of like produced my own training videos, and I still didn't have an email course. So I dug in there, found the email course. There's like 3 different courses in there, and I asked a bunch of questions. And then I got into PVC, and I dug into the courses there, and asked a bunch of questions there. And the same thing for our Hangouts. Like if someone wants to know, I guess it's kind of hard to search our Hangouts like that, but if you keep up with them, I could see you learning someone who's new or kind of medium, mid-level, learning 1 or 2 good things per episode of our Hangout, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And kind of, I don't know, maybe like you said, we should maybe try to structure them a little bit better. But I kind of like that we can talk about the stuff that we talk about that's off topic and not have to worry about it too much. I mean, we do a pretty good job of policing ourselves back into the bounds, and um, we've had people bring this up too that we shouldn't use the Q&A app because it distracts from it makes it look like there's no engagement on the event page. Well, I disagree with that because I don't care about that. The people watching the show know that there's engagement, and plus that Q&A app lets people go through our recorded hangouts when people ask questions. They can click on those questions and jump right to that. So I think that's a pretty good way of getting right to the meat and potatoes of some of our hangouts. Sometimes the Q&A app isn't up, but that's very rarely. So it's up now. Maybe I should check it.
It is. I've been watching it.
Okay. So yeah, that's just one way. But yeah, I think it's all pretty good using that, and I mean, we do pretty good about staying on topic. You can kind of search through them on your own, and maybe eventually I'll go through, maybe not the older ones, but as we do them and try to add timestamps. I've been thinking about doing this for a while, but that would help out a little bit too. We'll have, 2 minutes 45 SEO, 10 minutes 35 keyword research, 12 minutes 35 lawn mowing, and
Yeah, I think as a resource, it's kind of hard to search through them, kind of hard to find out specific information. But it's sort of like a background learning, casual interest thing.
yeah.
Um, I think people could learn from it, especially since like you can't do intense learning all the time. Sometimes you have to be like what I would do is, when I was first building my websites and stuff, I would go through the courses and do what I had to do. But then every Friday night, Jay's webinar, like I'd grab a cup of coffee, clear my desk, sit back in my chair, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna listen to this, but this is like casual learning time. I'm not gonna stress out about taking notes or whatnot.
Mhm.
And throw on a podcast, watch a hangout while you, I don't know, look at the sunset.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of, yeah, I do the same thing. So, and what you mentioned about WA too, I wanted to comment on, kind of people outgrowing it and stuff like that. And I kind of agree with that because there's a lot of it that, like, I just don't need anymore. But like when I think of it just like when I was building houses and stuff like that. When you get to the job, you put on your tool belt. It doesn't matter what you're doing that day. Even if you know you're not going to need that hammer all day, it's going to be right there beside you. So that's kind of the way that I look at WA. Um, it's like my tool belt. I may not need it today, but I might. And a lot of the stuff that I do for my clients that I don't do for myself, trying to think of an example. Like I'd like PPC or stuff like that. Like I'll do that for some of my clients. I don't necessarily always do that for myself. I learned that from WA, and I can always go back there and check the resources there, go through the training one more time. It's like having my tool belt all the time. So, yeah, most of it I've outgrown, but at least it's always there.
Yeah, and another thing I've been thinking about is like, did we talk about this last week? The value of being able to contact people.
No, we didn't do last week, but the week before
Uh,
that. I
Like
don't
I was
think
thinking,
so.
okay, how much is talking to or having access to a professional worth? Let's say you have one conversation each month with someone who is a full-time online marketer or someone who knows the answers to your questions. How much is that one interaction worth? Like
Yes, some people charge thousands for that.
$1,000 for an hour or $100 for an hour. I think $100 for an hour for professional business advice is not unreasonable.
Mm-mm.
And if you can have one 20, 30-minute interaction with someone who's like, okay, this is wrong, this is right, this is the direction you need to go, like it's worth $50 a month or $30 a month, if you're a yearly member.
Yep, I totally agree with that. And it's just a wealth of information. I totally agree with that, man. There's a lot of people there you can talk to. There's a lot of chat. It's all good stuff.
Like Neil Patel. I mean, you can not to pick on Neil here, but he's a professional, and you can contact him on his blog. But if you ask him anything, he's going to give you like a 2-sentence tweet or a paragraph response, maybe. If you ask a question on his blog, um, is he going to answer a personal email? I don't know. Do you want to hire him as a consultant? He's going to charge you $300 to look at your site, or however much. I don't even know if he does that, or charge you whatever for that SEO analyzer that he has.
Yeah, it
So
won't be cheap. It won't be
no.
$30, that's for sure.
All right. Well, speaking of money, I don't want to. I know we're at time here. Um, so in the webinar suggestion thing, someone asked, what did they ask? Whoops. No, I can't find it. Okay, the general idea of what they asked is how much money can you expect from a certain amount of traffic? Like, what's the expected return on traffic to your website? If you get 50 visits a day or 100 visits a day, what type of return can you expect on that as far as money goes or making sales? So I collected some statistics from my sites, and they're pretty much all over the map, which is the answer that there is no expected return. It depends on the niche. It depends on how your content is written. It depends on what you're selling, what's the end product, the audience, all type of stuff. So one website that I've talked about a bit before, one of my old websites, gets about 20 visits a month, and it makes about $50 a month. I don't really work on the website anymore, and I don't really know where the traffic is coming from. I really don't know much about it, but it makes about $50 a month from 20 visits. It used to be higher. I used to get about 100, and then after all the Google stuff happened.
20 visits a month?
Oh, sorry, a day.
Okay.
Yeah, these are daily stats. 20 visits a day.
Okay. That makes sense, I guess.
Now, what's that?
I was going to still, that's a pretty good conversion rate.
Yeah, not bad. I mean,
I guess it depends on how many sales that actually is, but
the
still,
affiliate program pays 10%, and so I make maybe 1 or 2 sales a week. So it's definitely not that much. I don't even know if it's $50 a month. That's just like I make a couple hundred for the year, like 500-600 for the year, so about $50 a month.
cool.
Now I have another site which has 50 visits a day, which you would think would be about $100-150 a month, but this site actually makes about $2,000 a month. So it's incredibly different. It's a different niche. Different audience, different all that stuff. And the funny thing is, I don't have a blog on there. I don't have any content. I just have one page. And It's a one-page website. Yeah.
Wow. Huh. Is it search traffic?
Some search traffic. Some I did some paid ads. This was my only website that I've had successful paid ads. Um, I have a couple blog comments that get traffic. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean not that much, but it makes pretty good amount of money.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, and then I'm trying to think of what 1,000 visits a day. Oh, okay. Before Penguin, I got one of my first sites up to 1,000 visits a day, and it was making about $7,000 a month off of 1,000 visits a day. Um, and then after Penguin, it got hit, and now it's down to about less than 100 visits a day, and it obviously makes a lot less now. So a tenth of the traffic and about, I don't even know. It's kind of a crappy site, so I really don't know where the sales are coming from. But yeah, you can see it's kind of way different sides of the thing.
Yeah, that's kind of very, to answer that question, I know it's a crappy answer, but I mean, I think it involves a lot of research, like Nathaniel's talking about. But it's really going to depend on your how you're converting them, how your call to actions are, the niche itself, where the traffic's coming from. Um,
Traffic source, another big one, yeah.
uh, but like we said before, setting up a site and using PPC to test it is a great way to try to get a gauge on all that. It's not going to be perfect, but it will give you some information on it. It'll at least tell you how your CTAs are and all that.
Yeah. Um, so one last thing, I saw this guy's website where he was speculating on how much traffic you need to make a certain amount of money for AdSense. I
Hmm.
think I talked about this before. His was just an approximation, and he did some funky math. I don't know what was going on with it. And according to his calculation, if you want to make $100,000 a year from AdSense, you need 100,000 visits per day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, that's going to go off the niche because it depends on what the ads are because different ads are going to pay differently. So.
Yeah, and he says that,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
but it was just a fun, like 100,000 visits a day would be insane.
Yeah.
Um, but just shows you how much AdSense pays.
Yeah. Advertising is not the greatest way to monetize a site at all, especially AdSense itself.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for the info. Uh, if anybody, if you're watching, you don't know where that survey link is, if you go to the Fresh Coffee community, it's right there on the right side in the little menu there. There's a link to the webinar survey where you can let us know what type of webinar you'd like us to put on, SEO content, research, whatever it is, a question like this about monetization, whatever it is, we're putting it all together, and eventually we'll put together a webinar for you.
Yep.
All right. You got anything else you want to add to this before we get out of here?
That's about it. I'm gonna go set up my coffee station.
Cool. Sounds good. We want to see pictures of it. I gotta see this contraption that you're talking about, or all these different contraptions. All right, guys. We will see you next Thursday at 7.
See you later.